Welcome back to our weekly blog. We love it when you click like and then subscribe. We don't know most of you who watch this or listen. We've learned it's very hard to get our YouTube and Facebook friends to ever send an email. Email is so helpful to me as my eyesight is decreased. I very much need cataract surgery. I may have the beginning stage of macular degeneration, but on my computer, it's a touch screen. I just increase the size of anything that the print is too small. And it helps me to pray for you. So if you can make that shift and send me an email, I'd be very appreciative. george.brewer@om.org. The other one is my website, my new prayer letter. We just finished, just going in the post, the hard copies, but the digital copy is available on my website. If you're interested in knowing a little more about what we're doing in the Ministry of Special Projects, we certainly need some more people to stand with us in this global ministry. Well, I'm in the midst of reading a very exciting book. You can see the unique title, It's Okay to Be Not Okay, by a man I had never heard of before, Federico Villanueva. And I'm into this book and I'm being ministered to, being blessed. I think you can get it on Amazon. It's a Langham publisher, Langham. I don't have copies yet, but it might become actually the book of the year. My title for this message is 7 Things You Can Do Without Getting Out of Bed. I can assure you this isn't a joke. This isn't humor. This is important because quite a few people as they get older are bedridden. Other people have accidents even when they're very young and have to spend a lot of time in bed. And other people are dead. And I've learned from them, people like Jonathan McCrosty, who lost the use of his legs completely through a car accident, the man who directed OM Europe for many years, and how he adjusted, though he didn't stay in bed for very long, but his recuperation was quite a long period. So let me just give you my list, and maybe it's partly for me. Who knows when I'm going to end up being confined more to a bed. Number 1, of course, you can pray and you can worship, which is the most important aspect almost of our whole Christian life. That can include singing hymns. We realize there are exceptions, people with extreme Alzheimer's or dementia, and we're not trying to say this is something everybody must do. We hope we can understand the complexity, especially when people come extremely ill. They're often not able to hardly do anything. But when we can still have breath and some bit of our mind is functioning, we can pray and worship. I remember visiting the second most influential man in my life. We still publish one of his books in India, The Man God Uses, Oswald J. Smith. When he was getting near Heaven's Gate, I visited him in a nursing home, and mainly he could sing hymns. I think he may have quoted a few verses. Of course, the second thing we can do while remaining in bed is we can read. Nowadays, we can read from your laptop, read from the tablet, read from your phone, or you can read an old-fashioned book. Right now, for me to read a book, I have to use a magnifying glass, but that's okay. And that's how I'm reading this interesting book. Just ordered 40 copies, by the way. So the third thing you can do while you're still in bed, especially in this visual age, is you can watch documentaries. If you're able to use a laptop or a smartphone, it's unlimited, the information you can get. And also, through what I call the Google lady, you can pretty well ask her any question and learn a lot sitting in bed for audio when you don't feel like reading anymore. So I've been so helped through some of the documentaries I've watched lately. If you're still the kind of person that watches TV, you can easily have a TV, and it's a small one, in your bedroom and use it for what I've just spoken about. Then the fourth thing you can do is, of course, hopefully you can send an email, you can send a tweet, you can send a text. Maybe you don't have those things, you can phone. The old-fashioned phone call is making, I think, a greater impact than ever. And I'm surely not making enough of them these days, overwhelmed with the blessing and challenge of all kinds of other communication. Of course, it's a lot easier when people call me, because often when you call, you go into their voicemail, and I seem to be very gifted at punching in the wrong numbers. But you, from your bed, could bless someone who's lonely, no one's phoned them, they might be isolated. And of course, the more you can be in touch with people who don't know Jesus, with perhaps the opportunity to share with them over the phone, the better. There's a whole global ministry of people sharing with total strangers the gospel that is all done through the internet. I think it was birthed by Campus Crusade for Christ, which is now called Cru and Agape. But then another organization broke out of that and is huge, touching millions through the internet. So internet evangelism, you could do it from your own bedside. And just unlimited possibilities through this kind of communication. Again, if you don't feel well and you're sick to your stomach, of course, you're going to be limited in what you can do. One of my mottos is do what you can and leave it with the Lord. I have phoning as a separate item, number 5. And then number 6, you can write a letter. Yeah, even if you're not into the technological things, you can write a letter. And that is just so important. Or a card. Generally, if you don't have someone else in the home who can help you in certain ways, again, you're going to have to eat, then of course everything becomes more complicated. I don't have a simple answer to that. But some people who are in bed a lot have visitors who come 3 or 4 times a day. So then that can be worked out. Other people who have to be in bed a lot have some degree of mobility, so they can get up, do some things, and get back in bed. Other people can sit in a chair, and they may have difficulty with their legs. They're not confined to the bed, but they're confined to a chair. All these things, of course, can be done from a chair. And the 7th item on my list, but I've got an 8th that I dare not forget, is with the help of others. We could address envelopes and send out literature, maybe even booklets. If you have a pile of books by your bed, it's amazing. But again, you'd probably need help from someone. After I produced this list, I realized that one of the most important things you can still do in bed is exercise. And also, if you're stuck in a chair, I have a series of exercises that I do when I'm just sitting in a chair. There are other ones, especially connected with your back, that you can do when you're laying down, like pulling your knee up and back and forth and back and forth. I was told that's good, as I have problems, which I prevent by always having some kind of support, what we call lumbar support. It's interesting, in the business class flights, they have a tremendous built-in lumbar support. The economy class, they used to give you a pillow. You could put that. A lot of economy class tickets don't even give you a pillow anymore. I think COVID sort of wiped that out. What are some simple exercises? One taught to me by my rehab people after heart surgery is this. You look over and down, over, down. It seems simple, seems silly, but apparently it's an important exercise, especially for your neck, maybe the arteries and veins that run into your brain. Then over here. Another one is just to look up, to look up. One I do all the time is that. Again, there's something in many of us, me, I just acknowledge it as a lazy streak, that prefers not to bother with these things. But somehow I learned, even as a young teenager, the importance of exercise, and have never hardly missed a day, except my couple of days there in the hospital. Another one, of course, is just, and if you can get a book in each hand or any kind of weight, you can have tremendous exercise that way. I was reading an article the other day that one of the most important exercises that everyone should engage in is deep breathing. Sure, you can do that. It went on to explain how most people, their breathing mechanism, especially with pollution, I don't understand it, is not running at proper capacity. And one of the ways to improve that is deep breathing. So yes, there's a lot you can do, even if somehow you're still stuck in bed. And of course, if one of these days you're in bed and you do have access to a phone or a laptop, I would love to get an email or a phone call saying you're in bed, perhaps doing some of the exercises that I mentioned. As we try to redeem the time, I believe it honors God. I think of that verse, redeem the time, for the days are evil. I forgot the man of God who gave this statement that really ministered to me and shook me, as he said he felt one of the great sins of God's people today is wasting time. As I tried to just observe without being judgmental, and of course I talk about that in my book on toxic perfectionism, just how people so often are so careless in their use of time. We're not talking about having good sleep. We're not talking about taking a break to rest, or maybe watching a film or listening to music that can help you. I talk about those things in my books, but making use of the time when we're not in that particular situation, to me, is so important. There's so much that can be done. So many don't have even one gospel tract. One man who was very ill in a hospital in Switzerland, I read about years ago, was sending out literature all over the world from his hospital bed. No doubt he had some help. What an amazing postal system we have across the world, even though it seems a bit expensive. It's actually a bargain if we know what it costs to fly to these places or to drive to these places, or other ways of. So the postman can actually be working for us. We send out about 100 personal letters a week here that I sign. If you had one, by the way, I always love to hear if people ever got it. A whole batch is going out again this week. And I just feel the post office man is working for me, the whole system. Some countries it's not working, so you need to check that out. Well, God bless you as you think about these things. Most of them we can do when we're mobile. A lot of these things I do in trains and airplanes, but do just what the Lord guides you to do. God bless you, and hope maybe this week we'll hear from some